Let's get it poppin'! What's up, y'all? It's episode 7 of Your House, Our Rules, the sports podcast. And it's the week after the Super Bowl. Got it done a little bit late this week, but you know we're on it now. And as you guys can see up here, Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Now, there's a lot of stuff that happened. I think the last time when we were talking about the Cincinnati Bengals game, I think that it was like our due diligence to not talk about the refereeing right away and save it to the end of the podcast. But at this point in time, after fucking the bullshit that we saw in both conference championships and the Super Bowl, I think that we kind of need to say something about the holding call that basically gave the Chiefs the game. Now, I don't want to sit here and say that it gave them the game, because like they were probably going to score where they were at on the field. They probably were going to be able to kick a field goal, but it left the Eagles absolutely no time to drive down the field. And the way that the Eagles were playing that game offensively, they probably were going to have a chance at scoring in the next minute and 50. So, how do you guys feel about that? Do you guys think that that was a holding call? Do you think that should have been called? What's up? We'll start with you, Stolzy. What's up?
I do like it. Okay, so it was a hold.
Definitely.
110% it was a hold. The player even came out, said it was a hold. I held him. I got caught. My problem with it is the exact same two players in the first quarter went over the middle on a third down. He got away with a hold. And at that point right there is when you set the baseline for what you're allowed to get away with. For the entire game, that's exactly what you're supposed to go by.
Yes, sir.
So And I don't like the people that are saying it's that point of the game, you can't call that. No, the rules are the rules. You got to call the rules. You can't just because, oh man, that would suck to end their season on this. Like, dude, it's a flag. Our season ended on a flag. We weren't mad about that flag. We were mad about 7 flags that weren't thrown.
I think that our flag, was a little bit more of like it was a little
more
bit
of an
more
egregious
warranted. It was a little bit more
sure.
warranted. It was a lot more warranted. Like
I was going to say a lot.
It was a fucking thing. But like you said before, and this is where the stance that I am. You set a standard at the beginning of the game with the way that you're calling the things. The game was Super Bowl was very well officiated game. They were letting them play. That's what I like to see. Now, the fact of the matter is they call a ticky-tack foul like that in the last 2 minutes of the game to basically make sure that they're not going to have a rebuttal when Kansas City eventually scores. That's when I'm like, okay, this is a little bit rigged. Now, I will say this straight up. There is definitely... The league definitely wants Kansas City to do well. They definitely wanted them to win the game, and I think at this point in time that it's pretty fucking blatant. I mean, at the end of the game, you can talk about how, like, what was it, Jones come up and, like, is literally picking the commissioner of the NFL up in the air, giving him a hug. And it's like...
That's how I hug my son when I get home from work.
Exactly. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, you're going to do this on live television? Like, are we playing favorites? Fucking Mike, you got anything to say about this shit?
I mean, they couldn't have made that more obvious if they had to.
Right?
I mean, seriously.
I don't care how you hit the quarterback. That's what it was said that he said. I mean, it wasn't the clearest audio, but it's what it sounded like he said to me. So
I mean, I don't know about all the, conspiracies around, the NFL being scripted or anything like that. But you're right, Stolzy, in the sense that you are setting a standard early on in that game that this is how we're going to call the game. Okay, regardless of, who it's on, what happens, you got to call it down the middle. And I don't think that they did that on a couple of occasions during the Super Bowl. And you're right, Spilly. It's like they were kind of leaning towards that team at the end of the game to have the opportunity to win. Mm-hmm. And, regardless, it was a hell of a game.
Yeah,
it really was. It was a hell of a game.
That's what fucking sucks about it, because it was one of the best Super Bowls I've ever seen since the New England and Seattle Super Bowl. It was a hell of a game, and for it to end like that, Stolzy texted us in the group chat like immediately afterwards. He's like, "No way, this game just ended like that."
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was almost like you were waiting for the next quarter to begin, and it was the end of the game. Like seriously, it was a great game, but
it was like we were going 100 miles an hour and just stopped.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like again, Kansas City's defensive coordinator made a few adjustments at halftime, and I think they put the right play calling in place for their defense to stifle Jalen Hurts a little bit, to where he was on the his tippy toes the whole time, trying to figure out what he needed to do to to get the ball down the field so his team could score. And I think that was a huge. And they did that against the Bengals too.
Yeah,
In the second, I mean,
definitely.
Defense killed them.
I think that they did a little bit better against the Bengals, but that also might be because of our offensive line. Because when it comes down to it, Jalen Hurts fucking was the MVP of that game. Like,
yeah, he was. He played a hell of a game.
Mahomes played a good game. His numbers didn't necessarily show it, but Jalen Hurts had a fucking all-star game. And this is what I'll say about the Eagles. I have doubted the Eagles all year. Now, the defense is one thing. Offensively, I had a lot of question marks about Jalen Hurts and the way that their offense operated. Those questions were answered this year. He is the real deal. For him to step up as early as he is in the Super Bowl the way that he did, that man has a hell of a career ahead of him. Now, if we can switch it over to the other side of the ball, I don't think that the Philadelphia Eagles were a top 5 defense after watching them in the Super Bowl. They got absolutely murdered. There's no way you're going to tell me that you're a top 5 defense letting up fucking 35 points. No way.
No. They got
easiest.
We
talked about it last week. Mm-hmm. Easiest schedule in the entire, or second easiest schedule in the entire NFL. Mm-hmm. It can't be that hard to rack up sacks and low point totals when that's your schedule.
Mm-hmm. Can I say something real quick, Slozzy? Go ahead.
Good.
Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, man. I just, top of my mind before I forget this. It's crazy to think about that, Stolzy. Like you said, second easiest schedule in the league, and 3 of the teams out of their division made the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true, but the NFC was so goddamn beat up.
Weak.
It's just all around a weak thing, and we can sit here and say that like 3 of those teams made the playoffs, and those were like the 3 best teams, but like let's look at that. New York, as Jack said a couple episodes ago, he said that team overachieved this year. They were a team that wasn't supposed to be that good and ended up being that good. That's why they made it. Even Washington was pretty good, but they didn't make the playoffs. And Dallas was easily the most overrated team. Their defense was definitely ship caliber defense, but when it comes down to it, Zeke had an awful year. And Dak Prescott is just not the quarterback that everyone in Dallas wants him to be or thinks that he is. He's just not. Offensively, they're not a sound team, and there was no thing. When it came down to it, when you're looking at the first round of the NFC, San Francisco, Eagles. Those were the only 2 teams that I saw on there that stood a chance at the Super Bowl. So now we're here. And, when it came down to it, I'll give you this. I was impressed by Eagles. I did not think that they were going to play that well against the Chiefs. I thought their defense would be a little bit of the better side of the ball, and it wasn't. The offense was the better side of the ball. And the thing about it, too, they're a primarily running team, and, I saw some stuff on Facebook and stuff about, like, how the running game did not play all that well. Jalen Hurts had, like, double the yards out of everyone else. They passed, and that hasn't been their style all year. So, yeah.
That's just like I said last week in the Super Bowl preview where I said if Philadelphia can't run the ball and it comes down to quarterback versus quarterback, you have got to put Mahomes in that game. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what it was. I mean, first play from scrimmage, Miles Sanders fumbles the ball out of scrimmage, and then he ended up having like 3 carries the entire game. Gainwell couldn't get anything going. Boston Scott had 9 yards. Like, Jalen Hurts, literally, it was almost like a college football offense when you look back at it, like, to the point where it was like, okay, Jalen Hurts is our best athlete. We're just going to go down. We're going to give him the ball, and we go down with our best player.
Let him make a play. And now I wonder how much of that was affected by the fact that he's just so new and teams are still trying to kind of figure him out, and the fact that they weren't prepared for that. Because, like, I think that Kansas City was... Correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think they were more prepared for a run game in the first half, and that's why the Eagles jumped out so quickly, because they threw the ball. They're like, we're going to make Jalen fucking throw this ball, and Jalen threw the ball, and he threw it well.
Well, and it was weird, too, because like even the A.J. Brown touchdown wasn't anything like, it wasn't a dime, it wasn't like a great route. Like, the cornerback literally just got lost from where he was and where the ball was.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was like we were saying, dude, like, when they have to pass the ball, they don't have any, like, scheming like the Chiefs do. Like, sometimes the Bengals show that they do, where they'll scheme a guy open or they'll get a mismatch. It's literally just, like, throw the ball to Devontae Smith, Goddard, and A.J. Brown. Just throw it up beyond the sticks and hope they come down with it. Like, Goddard made, like, 3 ridiculous catches in that game on Sunday night.
Yeah, and there were a couple, instances in that game where there were like questionable calls of whether or not it was a catch or not, like that. And bringing it back to the officiating again, I think that most of it was pretty good, except for that one where they basically gave the Chiefs a 5th down or another down again. I can't remember exactly which one it was. Do either of y'all remember? But it was no. What happened was they threw it and then they ruled it a complete pass. But the replay played, and then they had like some sort of like clock functioning thing where they went up and stopped it again, and then they threw the challenge. Then they threw the challenge flag after a play was already ran because they snapped it back. It's like
gave them more time to look at the angles.
Right.
It's another Bengals Chiefs situation, man. It's like they just give them another, okay, well, they didn't succeed on this one. Let's just kind of figure out a rule that's deep in that rule book and say this is what we're going to call and give them another opportunity.
Right. And like these are the rules, but the thing about it is they allowed them to throw a challenge flag when the challenge flag wasn't thrown in the first place. Now, did they end up overruling the challenge flag or ruling against the challenge flag? Yes. They still ruled it. They still ruled it a catch. So the Chiefs did nothing but lost a fucking timeout for that. Right. But if you ask me, I think the only reason why that happened is because we had the 5th down play from the week before or 2 weeks before. We had all that bullshit that happened. I think that they were like, you know what? If we let them do this again, we might have a little bit too much on our hands. So we're just going to need to give him the catch because I don't really think that it was a catch, but it's one of those things where now that we're starting to get into this. It's hard to define what a catch is anymore. Like sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. Like if that was considered a catch, then the Buffalo Cincinnati game when Chase had 2 legs down and then fucking fumbled it a little bit and still got another leg down and they ruled that an incompletion, that should have been a catch.
That's a catch. Yeah. Yes.
See, the thing is though is that they don't consider the end zone an extension of the actual playing field. Yeah. If Chase's catch would have went out of either side out of bounds and not out of the back of the end zone, it would have been a catch. But because there's weird rules because T got caught on one of these earlier in the season where he caught the ball, but he was going backwards and he caught it with 2 feet, like 2 tiptoes right on the outside or right on the very back edge of the back of the end zone. And they said that it's not a catch, even though he got his 2 feet in because he didn't get his heels in. He's going backwards. So you can't just get your 2 toes.
Yep.
They have weird rules when it comes to the back of the end zone.
I thought though in the end zone, because it's different if you're like going out of bounds or something like that. But once you have possession and 2 feet are down in the end zone, and Jamar had 2 feet down.
It's different with catching the ball.
Not if you're going backwards.
Different with catching the ball.
Yep. If you're going forwards and to the side, it's fine. But if you're going backwards, it's not.
And that's,
you got to have the whole foot down.
And that's what we need to start getting like rules together and like having a cohesive rule that is able to be used because it's confusing people when they're doing 1 week one thing and 1 week the other. And now there's a lot of people talking about, introducing reviewing into the game more than it already is, which I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that we need to have limits to it. It can be a useful tool, but at the same time, it might slow down the game, and that kind of takes away from the integrity of the game. So,
and I agree with that, but at the same time, it's like you're saying you want the ability, you got to get it right, and it's like you got to kind of have a balance between both of what you're saying, Spilly. Kind of a change, a little bit of a change in cohesiveness in the rule, and then maybe a little bit more of the review side of things, so they make sure they get it right.
But the point
here's what I don't understand about.
1 second, but the point is, if you want to do that, the original point that I was trying to make was that you need to have these cohesive rules. If you want to be able to introduce reviewing into it, we need to have an understanding of what is a catch and what's not a catch, what is a penalty and what's not a penalty. But
I agree. They got to tighten that up.
Yeah, but you know what? That's when it gets a little bit too broad. A lot of things can happen, so I kind of understand it to an extent. Continue, Stolze.
What I don't understand is when somebody is challenging a play, like they always talk about the ruling on the field. I don't understand why any of that matters. Like I'm challenging the rule on the field. I think you're wrong. Yeah. So why is what I think you got wrong? Why is that the baseline that we set? You know what I mean? Like I don't think that the call on the field should matter when I think you got it wrong. I think there should be like literally some dude whose only his job is to sit there and sit in front of 15 screens and only look at play challenges. That's all he does. He's not watching the game. He doesn't know what quarter it is. He doesn't know what week the game is. I don't care. Like he has nothing. Just look at the play, know the rules, and what do you think the call is?
Yeah.
The play on the field should not matter. Just this is what the angle is.
I kind of don't think it does matter, and that's just because we've gotten to
That's why you have to have circumstance. That's why you have to have video evidence to overturn.
Yes. You're supposed to have you're supposed to be able to overturn the call. There's a rule on the field. You're supposed to have substantial evidence that proves that was not the way it was in order to do it. But when it comes down to it, I think it's just evolved into a point now where they look at it and they make a fucking ruling based on that. The ruling on the field needs to stand. I just kind of think they've thrown it out the window, which I think they should do.
That's them saying that we don't know. Like, we don't know if we got it right or not, but we're just going with it.
Exactly.
That's literally what that is saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, that should not be a thing. We have every camera in the world with 8,000 megapixels, 4K streaming, everything you could want, every single angle.
Yeah.
Like,
and did you see also
we should get this shit right?
Did you see also that Collinsworth tweeted out the picture that they were playing on the Megatron up at Super Bowl?
Yeah, that's weird, dude.
And he was like, we were questioning why people were questioning the call. He was like, we thought it was a clear hold, and he was like, well, I mean, if you want to get into the whole conspiracy thing, which like I kind of already fucking blatantly said before, I think that they have a wanting for the Chiefs to fucking win the game. I think that they did that.
I literally think that it was just to get traction on the game. Like, if the NFL PR machine can control what angle or like what pictures are getting out from the broadcast, then they're gonna have so many more clicks when. If that picture's not going around, it's debunked right away.
Yeah.
If you're just showing the one where all you see is his hand on his back and then he just goes, it looks way like you're gonna get way more clicks and engagements just based off arguments alone.
Well,
yep,
because nobody saw that tug until I literally sent it to you guys like 45 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look what we're doing right now. We're talking about it. That's exactly what they want. That's exactly what you're talking about, Stolze, is exactly what they want.
And that's
I mean, look at their history, dude. Like, the NFL does not care about their reputation. All they care about is the money coming in and their bottom line and free marketing.
And here's the thing too. Jack would usually be joining us on this podcast or whatever. He's taking a break from the NFL because the Bengals lost and he's all pissed off. I'll just be fucking honest about that. But he didn't watch the game. Like he took his right to boycott. He knew exactly what it was that he was doing. He was like, I know that it's not going to fucking really do anything to the machine that is the NFL, but he's like, I need a break. And I was like, I understand that. Now, when you look at the ratings that they had, 113 million people, it was the second most viewed Super Bowl of all time. So the whole, like, we're going to boycott and shit like that, it really doesn't work. It's really not going to work because people are still watching the game. And you know what? Maybe a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Chiefs are in it because love them or hate them, people still want to see the Chiefs. They either want to see them win or they want to see them lose. And a lot of people want to see them lose, but they didn't get to see that, which means next year they're going to want to see them lose even more, and they're going to tune in.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, like, I don't.
Go ahead, Stolze.
But like, I'm not. Obviously, I speak for. I'm not going to say every Bengals fan, but like, I'm speaking for like 99% of just football fans. When Joe Burrow isn't playing football, I want to watch Pat Mahomes. Period. As a football fan. So just to put that out there, we're not just salty Bengals fans. Like,
no. I mean,
absolutely.
You're definitely right, but at the same time, we need to not play favorites as a fucking NFL, as an organization for the NFL, and it's pretty blatant.
Yeah.
When you see things like Mahomes throw a no-look pass and it goes incomplete, but they show it on replay for fucking weeks on end. It's like what? He didn't complete a fucking pass.
They know. Right, but they know who is bringing in dollars, who's selling jerseys. Who, like, it's literally the same thing. Was like ESPN is LeBron Center. Yeah. Like, it's the same exact thing where they know what's gonna bring. Like, okay, what are we gonna talk about? Devin Booker, like, yeah, he had a 70-point game, but outside of that 70-point game, what has he done for us? You know what I mean? LeBron, every single day we can talk about him,
right?
Because he's chasing records, he's in the finals, he's doing this, doing that.
Yeah. They're good at getting their.
So like they're gonna push the guys that give them more,
of course,
money, obviously.
And I feel like part of the reason why he gets every call, like LeBron, okay, they call everything that, like, you touch him and they're like, come on, no, he gets everything.
I don't know if you know what his.
I don't know about that, Mike.
No.
I don't know if you know what his foul percentages look like.
Detroit Pistons of the '90s. Just look at I mean, look at what they did to Jordan, and he came back. He's like, dude, I gotta get like lean. I gotta get beefier.
LeBron was
and,
the
like,
fucking
LeBron
Detroit
would have been the
Pistons.
biggest player on that court.
in the
Detroit-
'90s. Fucking Detroit,
Detroit Pistons of the '90s were the fucking most physical
ruined
basketball
people.
team to ever fucking step on
That's
the
what I'm
floor.
saying, dude. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't have
And
that
LeBron would
in
be the
today's day and
biggest
age.
player on that floor.
Yeah, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter, dude. There
We're
were
not
things
gonna-
that they did. I'm not even
We're-
getting into that. Anyway,
Yeah, we're not gonna get
wanted
into
to
that.
say. You can tell my hatred
No.
for LeBron. What I was gonna say is I feel like Kansas City now is like the New England Patriots from the
no.
years. I mean, I really feel like that's the case here.
Oh, yeah.
And look at some of the calls and things that happened during a couple of the Super Bowls. Tom Brady's in because they knew that was going to bring in the dollars and cents for them.
Yeah,
that's what it's about.
and
It's about money and revenue.
I mean, Tuck rule, bro.
My cousin
Tuck rule. That's exactly right.
My cousin Jeff was talking about the other day. He's like, they're gonna fucking allow a couple other teams to be good for the next couple years, but as long as Mahomes is still on the Chiefs and Andy Reid is still there, he's like, they're gonna be that team because, like I said before, you like to watch them play, whether you want them to lose or whether you want them to win. You're watching the game. So,
Yep.
I mean, does anyone have? We can move on a little bit. We've talked a lot about the refereeing and the things that a couple of the things. I didn't think that the Eagles' defense was all that impressive. Mahomes did Mahomes things. It was a little bit of a lackluster performance. I don't quite understand how. Someone help me out. Who was the guy who recovered the fumble and had 9 fucking sacks or 9 fucking tackles or whatever?
I literally just heard his name.
Yeah.
It's not Chris Jones, was it?
No, it was
No.
it was their defensive end, I think he is. He had a fumble recovery and like 9 fucking solo tackles or something and like 2 sacks or some bullshit like that. Bro, he was fucking the absolute most dominant player on the field, but we give it to Mahomes because it's Mahomes. So
It's Mahomes. That's what brings in the revenue.
Yeah,
You think that defensive end's going to get that much clout?
No,
it's got to be Mahomes,
and
dude.
that's definitely what it is. I watched this video actually earlier this week about it went through the every year the Super Bowl era
Bolton.
and Nick Bolton, that was it.
Yeah, give him his flowers.
Yeah, you get my MVP, brother. Okay, fucking us at your house, our rules. You rule today. Okay, but I was watching this video that was it went through every Super Bowl year and took the MVP, and it said if there was no or if quarterbacks didn't exist, who would get the MVP because the quarterback wins it every year. Now, I will preface this by saying that quarterbacks they're the leaders of the on the field. They're the ones calling the plays, they're the ones reading the defense. Like for the most part, if they have a decent year, they deserve it. But like I was going through and like the dude was naming and like he was talking about J.J. Watt and like I think it was the years that like he was beating the Bengals in playoff games and shit like that. He said that like the dude's stats were absolutely ridiculous. There was absolutely no reason why he should get snubbed for a fucking MVP that year. But quarterbacks exist, so we got to give it to a quarterback. So
well, that's why they have like defensive player of the year, and that's why like offensive rookie of the year, or not rookie of the year, but they have like offensive player of the year.
Yeah.
That's the MVP. That's not playing quarterback.
And let's not also forget that in the past Super Bowl that we just had, the Chiefs not only scored off a fumble that they scooped for a touchdown, but also late in the game, the fucking Eagles outkicked the coverage and the dude ran for like a 50-yard punt return and put him on the 5-yard line. Now, I will say this.
And that was a midseason pickup.
That's a testament to just how well the defense and special teams and like the Chiefs being an all around good team is to winning games. Because Mahomes, he didn't have the numbers that he did, but at the end of the day, he played a good game. He wasn't on the field. I mean, shit, until the third quarter, I think it was something like they were like 40 minutes into the game of playtime, and the Eagles had the ball for like 25 minutes compared to 15. It was some ridiculous time of possession like that.
But that's the thing, man. That's what wins you games, man. Special teams, defense. There's obviously there's times when you've got those luck plays and things like that. But dude, it's special teams, defense. It's not always the quarterback, but yet they get the MVP at the end of the day.
It's nice to not all have to put it on one person. Nice to have a good, well-rounded team, and
that's the team that wins. Yep, absolutely.
And when it comes down to it, I think that next year, I mean, the Eagles just lost their offensive and defensive coordinator. So they're
rough.
That is up rough. In the air how they're going to do next year. I probably think that they don't win their division. They might still be a playoff team. I don't know if they'll necessarily be the best team in the NFC again. I think the San Francisco has some quarterback issues to do, but Purdy will be back, and they've proven that they can win with Purdy. So I think that when it comes down to it, though, Kansas City, Bengals, and San Francisco are the 3 best all-around teams that are going to be in the league next year. The offseason has to happen for all of the teams, but those are looking like the 3 favorites for the Super Bowl. And
For sure.
yeah, I mean, we can get a little bit into some of the other stuff with the Super Bowl, but I did kind of want to get your opinions. I give Bolton my MVP. I want to get a fucking MVP, and I want a preseason prediction of the Super Bowl next year. So let's do MVPs first. Who do you give it to, Stolzy?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Nick Bolton for me. Like, just, I mean, as much as it was just right place, right time, it was like literally that was the spark to get them back into that game, because it was like the Eagles are driving on that drive, and like they might have went up there and they could have went up 17, 21 points. Like, it could have got ugly quick. Yep. And but yeah, so I think it's Nick Bolton, and it's like, as long as the Bengals stay healthy, bro, I'm literally gonna take them. Like, they have between every team in the AFC, they got the deepest roster. They returned literally just about everybody this year, pending a couple free agent signings. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna take the Bengals out of the AFC, and right now, as it sits, just because, I mean, some obviously shit can change, but I'll probably go Niners, because the Eagles have a shitload of free agents coming up, and they have a lot of defensive guys on offense that are and offense that are coming up. Like, Miles Sanders is coming up, Boston Scott's coming up, and Ndamukong Suh's coming up. So right now I'm rocking with the Niners.
Yeah,
even though they lost their defensive coordinator.
That's exactly what I was going to say about fucking the predictions for Super Bowl. I'm going with the Bengals and the 49ers as my postseason prediction. So, and I do think that the Bengals are going to win it next year. I think we'll go nice 1-2 record against the Niners in the Super Bowl. And plus, now that we know that it's scripted, like, that's a hell of a script. We can't give it to Kansas City 2 in a row for this early. Maybe a couple years down the line, but let the Bengals get their little shot and their redemption against San Francisco. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
So let me, just in case Zach Taylor somehow finds this clip, this postseason right here is why you challenge that touchdown for Jamar Chase in week 1. This is why you don't fuck around with Cooper Rush in week 2. This is why you start the season 2-0. You get the fucking 1 seed, that you have the team that's built for it with the quarterback, and you take the home field advantage with the fucking bye.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
And I think that would have potentially happened if Burrow and those guys had an opportunity to play in the preseason.
Yeah, there was a
because
lot that
those
happened.
First 2 or 3 games were like
For
the
sure.
Bengals preseason, pretty much.
I think that we've created a standard in Cincinnati that they're going to come out hot next year, and I would argue that outside of Kansas City and Buffalo, I don't really see us fucking not getting the number 1 seed. So we'll see. MVPs and predictions for next year.
Von Miller's contract?
I don't know.
For me, I'm actually I'm in agreement with you guys on that. I really think it's the Niners and the Bengals, and I think the Bengals should take it. I mean, the question is now: do we go all in this preseason? Like, right now? Do we go all in? Right? I mean, for everything, because this is our best opportunity, in my opinion, to win a Super Bowl. Because look at the free agents, the unrestricted free agents next year. There's 15 of them, and 14 of them are extremely important to our roster. And I really feel like this is the year that we have the abilities to do the first, number 1 seed, the home field advantage through the playoffs. I mean, we have the opportunity to get to that point. So I feel like we go all in right now and just ride this wave.
I need your MVP of the Super Bowl before we start doing that. And honestly, I don't know if I want to start getting into all this fucking free agency and stuff like that.
No, it's confusing. I mean, I looked it all up.
Not that, it's just a lot, and we're already at We're already
could
at
have a
30
whole
minutes.
episode on
I know
that.
who I
Really.
want for running back next year.
Yeah,
though.
and we
That's
might.
one- yeah.
I think
I already know.
I'm interested to see what this podcast goes to. We might start doing a little bit more of that because right now, we watch college basketball a little bit, but I don't see myself getting into the NBA and following that religious enough to do a sports podcast. And I would like to do MMA, but I just don't know if I have anybody who would want to do it. So it might be a lot of like off-season NFL transactions and stuff like that. So we'll get into that a little bit next week, but in my opinion, yes, we need to fucking spend some money and build a dominant team this year, and let some of these younger kids that we drafted learn underneath these people. But MVP
and
for
then
the
they
Super
become
Bowl.
the mentors.
Yeah.
My MVP for the Super Bowl, honestly, I'm going to give it to somebody on the Eagles. I mean, can I do that?
Jalen.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck.
Dude, the kid came out and played a hell of a game for his 1st Super Bowl. A hell of a game. And like you said, Stolze, if they don't run the ball and have success, they're not going to be in that game at all. Well, guess what? They didn't run the ball as successful as they
didn't have
probably
success.
wanted to,
Yeah.
and they were fucking in that game.
Yeah.
They were in that game, and that is a testament to how far that kid has come in just a few years in the NFL. When a lot of people are like, Jalen Hurts, I don't know, drafting him and stuff. Like they were, they had conflicted feelings on him, and he just stepped up. And I mean, do you think he's better than Lawrence of the Jaguars?
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, the people would put him almost close to Burrow.
We'll have to see. I think this year, yes, definitely
For sure.
For sure. I'd like to see after free agency, after losing the offensive and defensive coordinator, after all that, him being a young guy, him being figured out a little bit more next year. Next year is going to be where he really fucking sets himself apart from being that guy who had one good year and being like an elite quarterback in the NFL.
For sure.
So,
Kind of like a Dak Prescott did that one year when he had a hell of an offensive line. You know what I mean? Like he had one really good year and hasn't played real well since.
And like we can peg on that a little bit about the Super Bowl too. The fucking Eagles' offensive line is without a doubt the best offensive line. It's not
very
even
good.
close. It's
But
not
that's
even close.
That's what helps someone like a Jalen Hurts become successful. So I mean, you can almost give the MVP to their offensive line, although I wouldn't. But still, I mean, that's he stepped up and he played a hell of a game. So kudos to him for that.
And like I could even on the other side of the ball too, Travis Kelce had a big game, not necessarily like numbers, but when they came out the gate, they had nothing for Kelce. They had absolutely nothing, and then they had to double him up, and that opened up the rest of their offense. So
Juju Smith-Schuster had a great game too.
he did, but he's still fucking.
I hate him because he's a former Steeler.
all
But
day
yes,
on Twitter today.
no,
He was
absolutely.
getting cooked on Twitter
Well, he
by
deserved
every
it.
single all these pro players, dude. He was getting cooked.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
To stay on the subject of the Super Bowl, did you guys look at that video I sent you about
No. I know that
conditions?
I know that the fucking sod or fucking like natural glass or whatever is really bad.
Okay. This is a decent little wormhole. Okay, so this guy, Ali Conley on Twitter, rewatched the game every single snap. The Eagles defense had a player slip on 38% of Patrick Mahomes' dropbacks. 5 times they had multiple slippages in one play. The Chiefs defense had a player slip on only 14% of Jalen Hurts' dropbacks with no multiples. Now, the weird thing about this, George Toma is a diehard Chiefs fan who had to be told by Roger Goodell last season that he needs to stop rooting for the Chiefs because in the offseason he works for the Chiefs, so he's affiliated with the NFL, and this is his last year ever.
Wait, Goodell is?
No.
Oh.
The George Toma, the dude that does it.
I
He's
thought
such an out.
I
He's
thought
such
you
an
said
out and out.
Goodell. I was like, what?
No.
Okay.
So
Might as well be.
Toma is such an out and out like Chiefs fan that Goodell had to tell him to like cool it because you're affiliated with the NFL and we can't show bias.
Yeah.
And then
maybe not
the
get
clip
fucking
comes out-
hugged by a defensive line.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. Is
Yeah.
the clip,
might as
the
well
clip,
be.
The clip comes out of him getting of him fanboying and getting picked up off the ground. So
Little simp
obviously
ass.
nothing. It's a little fucking weird to think, and they kept showing how many different times the Eagles players kept switching their cleats. Like, remember they kept showing
They
like
showed the
mountain
cart.
of them?
Yeah, they showed
Yeah,
the
they
cart
showed
of
the
the
cart.
There
switch
was a whole
cleats.
mountain
Yeah.
of them,
They
and
did.
they made a point to say that the Chiefs weren't slipping.
Yeah.
Now,
No, I mean the percentages that you just
did
show
the
were
Chiefs
like half.
just know? Did the Chiefs just know what cleats to wear?
Yeah, they weren't going to slip so
And
much.
they just didn't get the information right. The
Deflate
Eagles
gate,
didn't get the information
Cleat
right
gate,
away.
shoe
Right.
gate, fucking
Right.
hey,
That's
turf
what I
gate,
said. Tom Brady
sod gate.
and the Patriots. are
It's all
very similar.
scripted.
Kansas City is the new
I mean,
Patriots. man.
a 24% difference on slipping.
Yeah, that's
like that's such a
ridiculous.
random thing to be a huge difference in out like a lot like it. They're both playing on the same field. Why is it so much different?
Well, I wonder if, like, is there a grass or whatever they're playing on? Is that something that Kansas City was more familiar with than Philadelphia was? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
is
I don't
that
know
that's
that
what
because
I'm
they
saying.
both play on
that
both of their home fields or natural grass.
or
though.
natural? Yeah, but I'm
Are
saying when
they?
they play the teams in
Yeah.
the NFC versus the AFC and the climates that they're in. I mean, is there
Well,
different grass?
that was a brand new
Well,
type of field though.
no.
It was being made for like 2 years.
Now here's the thing about it too. When you're
was like a
talking
whole-
when you're talking about Philadelphia and Kansas City, there are definitely different types of land there. You're talking about fucking building something on top of sand out in the desert, and then the other two places are like more fucking rocky clay, sod, whatever the
Right.
hell it is. So maybe that has something to do with it. But
Good.
neither of those teams should have an advantage or disadvantage because of that, because they don't normally play at that stadium. Now I will say this: it being State Farm and Mahomes being the guy from State Farm, maybe they fucking told him like, "Hey man, get some longer cleats on there." So there's a lot of sketch shit
Dude,
going
there's
on.
a lot of shit. Yeah,
lot
I
of
mean, we
sketch
could get
shit.
into that
Did the,
forever.
I do want to.
Chiefs play in Arizona earlier this year?
I don't know.
I don't think so,
I don't know.
and I don't know if the Eagles did either, but they'd be more likely to. Doesn't
Yeah, they
matter.
would.
But we need to move
Well,
on
I'm
from.
just saying, like maybe they would know. So week 18, they played at the Arizona,
Did they?
so they played on the field like 5 weeks before the Super Bowl. So maybe they just knew.
That's what I'm saying. Is there a familiarity that they have versus the other
That's
team?
that's
that-
why I went and looked it up.
Yep, there you go.
I don't care what you guys have to say. It's
But
shoegate.
I like this. I like the shit that I said way better.
Shoegate.
Like
It's
the
fucking,
Chiefs fan.
it's
It's
fucking
fucking
cleat
weird.
gate. Goddamn,
What kind of
goddamn
socks did they
Goodell's
wear?
giving them the answers. It's
Kansas
C.
City had two
It's
pairs of
C.
socks
When in
on.
doubt, go with C.
Yeah.
Goddamn it.
100%, 80% of the time.
Yeah.
It's like Sex Panther.
Yeah, it works.
60% of the time,
It
it works every time.
Yep.
Yep.
But well, let's move on from the actual game and fucking Sodgate or whatever the fuck we want to call it.
That's exactly what they're calling it.
I mean, Sodgate.
Yeah.
Okay, shit.
I like that.
Hey, I like it.
I'm better than Shoegate.
Got my vote. The one thing that I want to ask about the Super Bowl outside of that is like outside the game is the whole commercial halftime performance and stuff like that. We have the. I personally thought that Rihanna had a fucking phenomenal performance, even though I love her music. What I love the most about it is like getting on Facebook and Twitter afterwards and fucking you're in like a Houday fucking thing and you get these like 40, 50-year-old men and women who are like, worst halftime performance ever. It's like, will you get over your fucking self, man?
If it's not AC/DC, I don't want it.
Yeah,
Right.
God,
It's
I
not
would.
Bruce Springsteen.
The fucking
Yeah, no, I thought
halftime
it was
performance that AC/DC plays is the halftime performance I'm not fucking watching. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not watching that
My favorite
entire game.
To this day. I was with you, Spilly, when this one happened, but Bruno Mars still to this day is my favorite one that I've seen.
He
live.
killed it.
That wasn't
Yeah,
my
he killed
favorite.
it.
I like the
That dude
Tom
went banana land.
Tom Petty was probably my favorite, and then you have like Bruno was up there, but you got to remember when we were kids, you had like Tom Petty, Paul McCartney, Bruce Springsteen, shit like that.
Yeah, I wasn't watching those though.
Yeah,
I was playing with the man with the ball in the basement. Like
I was. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
He was
that's the age
coloring in his-
different. I've got a whole year.
He was
on
coloring
Yeah,
in his
you were-
coloring book.
Yeah. But I thought Rihanna had a fucking phenomenal halftime performance. I thought last year with the whole hip hop one had a really cool set design, but I thought they topped it this year with the like fucking Super Smash Brothers platforms dropping down and shit like that. I was like, yeah, this is dope. And she's pregnant, so it was like, I did have to say, I was like, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I want to see another wardrobe malfunction at the Super Bowl, but this would be the year to do it.
Thank you.
Definitely would be the year to do it.
I got shit on for that at the party I went to.
For saying that?
Yeah, I'm like, I was pissed because she was wearing so much clothing.
Yeah. Well, she was pregnant.
Well, I saw something that was funny too.
I
It
know,
was
and
like,
someone said that, and I was like, so.
Yeah,
I saw something that was funny
Rihanna.
too. They were like, they're like, you guys aren't impressed with this halftime show when she's pregnant. He was like, go ask your wife to get on a platform suspended 150 feet in the air when she's pregnant and see how that goes for you.
Right?
Meanwhile, ASAP Rocky's down there just recording the whole thing
Filming
on his
shit.
phone. Like,
Right, dude. I mean, I thought, and you know what? It kind of was nice to see a little bit like less promiscuous fucking side of the Super Bowl and stuff like that. Because like you had, was it J-Lo last year or whatever, and you know we've had like Katy Perry or whatever, and usually they you know objectify them a little bit as they usually do with like top level pop female singers. Just to see a nice regular like performance from a female thing, it was cool. I enjoyed it.
She killed it. She really killed it. I mean, and there were some times where she did some promiscuous shit. Like, she like she grabbed her ass and like did some things like that, and people like the people in my office were like, how can she do that with all those kids watching? I'm like, those kids have seen worse than that. Like, shut up. You gotta
That's
be
how
kidding
them
me.
kids were made. God damn it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Those kids made it the halftime show. I mean, it's whatever. I just think she individually she killed it, and I agree with you, Spilly. The set design and her being raised up and lowered and shit like that was sweet. I thought that was dope as shit.
Yep, for sure. You guys have any commercials that stuck out to you? I remember I was kind of busy with like social media and stuff in between commercials. I didn't watch too many. A lot of people were talking about the Tubi one. I remember that one
The
came
Tubi
on.
commercial,
I looked up. I saw bunnies. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I went back to my phone.
bro, literally, like what Tubi did, I don't know. Like that was so
I still haven't
clever.
seen it.
Like,
I saw that one part.
bro, they literally like showed Greg Olson and the other dude. Like they were like the background was the Super Bowl, and they literally were like, "All right, and we're back from the Super Bowl," and then it acted like all of a sudden the apps were changing, and it like backed out, changed to a different app. So like I literally thought like Braden came and picked up the remote and was like running away with it, and like changing the apps
Buttons.
and stuff. Yeah, because like they started it with making it with saying like "Welcome back to Super Bowl 57," yada yada yada, and then it just started changing, and you're like, "No, no, 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 no." Like I saw a Philadelphia fan. He was like, on top of having to deal with the Eagles loss tonight, I also have to explain to my mother-in-law that I didn't mean to call her a bitch when the Tubi commercial came
I saw
on.
that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, that's some good like marketing strategy right there to fucking get people to
Dude, it
pay
was
attention
genius.
to it. I mean,
Yeah, we're talking about it.
Tubi, yeah, and Tubi definitely could use it because like that's bottom tier.
I didn't even
fucking
know what
video
Tubi
app.
was.
It's a streaming app that's been around for a while, but it's bottom tier fucking streaming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's TV, like it's live TV, isn't it? Tubi.
It's like the type of shit that has a fucking season of this fucking random ass TV show that fucking Wallet's seen 3,000 fucking times.
Godfather of Harlem.
Yeah, they put Godfather of Harlem on fucking.
Shut up.
Sodfather final.
That's on Amazon Prime, asshole.
Yeah,
I didn't
they
watch
put
any.
the
I thought you
they
said
put the
something like
Superfan
that.
episodes of The Office on Peacock too. I don't know if you guys
They've been
saw
on
that.
there.
They've been on.
Yeah,
there.
for like a week or two.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't watch any of those commercials, man. I just didn't.
The Super
I
Bowl.
was too busy drinking and paying attention to.
It used to.
I was there with some pretty important people, so that was fun.
It used to be something that I paid attention to. The Super Bowl used to be something like you got to glue in for 4.5, 5 hours, whatever fucking it is or whatever. Because not only do we have to see the halftime performance, but every commercial is brand new and they're all competing and stuff like that. Plus, there's a Super Bowl, so it's just gotten to a point now where like the commercials are just whatever. I'm so tired of being forced.
Or that Jesus commercial.
I don't know if
That Jesus
Yeah, that was
commercial was
weird.
the weirdest
That was
shit.
weird.
Like, and this like coming from a guy who was like Catholic raised and everything. Like it was so weird.
Was it one
Like,
of those ones like I get some on YouTube that they'll like show someone like getting bullied and cyber bullied for like 30 seconds to a minute, and then at the end it said Jesus wouldn't bully him, and it just fucking that's the end of it.
It was weird. Yeah,
It
like
was
it literally.
weird.
at one
I see
point,
those
I'm
all the
pretty sure it was
time.
just like a black screen and just said Jesus across it. I'm like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like
What the
he
fuck?
cares about everybody, or he's accepting of everyone
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I looked over it.
unless you're gay.
Well,
But
I looked over at
they
somebody.
switched that up, bro. Too many gay people were leaving the church, so they decided to fucking, hey, yeah, you know what? We'll accept
that
gay people
and-
now too.
Yeah,
I looked
that and
over-
every priest is gay, so it's like
Right,
okay,
exactly.
right, so-
I looked over at somebody. I was like, yeah, well, he didn't have to deal with the shit that we had to deal with. So
Yeah.
here,
Okay.
I know I'm bad.
Hey, well, whatever.
I don't care.
Okay.
I'm laughing.
So
I know. Thank you.
this is a kids podcast, man. Okay, no, it's not. But the sports one is a little bit.
It's our rules.
It is our rules. You know what? You goddamn right, man. But anybody else? Do we have any closing arguments, reactions?
Godfather of Harlem.
No, we're not doing what you've been sipping on, dude. It's not what it is. I think that
Every time.
I think that we pretty much got this one done, guys.
I do. I think so.
All right.
Stay on here for a minute. I want to say something after the podcast is everyone. We have some breaking news.
Now I don't want to turn it. No, I don't want to stop the podcast because I don't want to hear that.
No, you got to. No, you got to stop the podcast.
Fuck that.
Nope.
All
right, well,
breaking
I'll go
news.
ahead.
I've never
Breaking
been broken
news.
up with. I just put my fingers in my la 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 la. You can't break up with me.
Broken up with.
Anyway, this has
Happy
been
Valentine's
episode
Day,
7.
bitch.
Day after Valentine's Day. We
Yeah.
love all y'all, by the way. Episode 7 of the
Hey,
Sports
use
Podcast.
code.
Oh yeah,
Use code MAG15 at TrumanFactory.com.
yeah, to get some
Get you
candy.
some gummies. Get you some candy.
And if you're watching this fucking video, Truman, we have tried 2-3 times now to get a fucking creator code for your house our rules, and you just ignore me. So
You told me you would do it.
fuck.
I got receipts. Recips.
And I've
I got
seen
'em.
them.
Recips.
Episode 7 of Your House Our Rules. One day we're going to be bigger than this Truman fucking factory bullshit, and we'll be able to give them goddamn creator codes.
Well, there goes our promo code.
that's it gone now. It wasn't there to begin with.
Fuck y'all. Oh well. Have a good one, everybody. It's been the Sports Podcast. Peace.
All right.
Good day.